You want to hear something funny? Experts are now saying 35–40% of childhood obesity is due to genes. Man, you guys, there's something wrong with that mentality. It has less to do with mom and dad's DNA and more to do with mom and dad's refrigerator, okay? Dr. Roby Mitchell and Dr. John Trowbridge are going to join us today and talk about childhood obesity. What a lineup we have. Kyle and I are going to be answering some Facebook questions. Do you have leg cramps, panic attacks, things like that? You'll want to watch that. Dr. Deborah Bain, yet another doctor, is a pediatrician. She's going to talk about itchy eczema and children and give you some advice on that. And finally, Rhonda is here. You don't know Rhonda. I met her years ago. Do you think cancer and fungus have much to do with each other? Watch today's Know the Cause. My name is Doug Kaufman. For the past 40 years, I've dedicated my life and even my career to finding the root cause of disease. Join me in a team of physicians, pharmacists, and scientists, and soon you too will know the cause. Okay, I had a dear friend, by the way, Dr. Roby Mitchell and Dr. John Trowbridge, two of my buddies for many, many years, joined me today. What a high this is for me to be sitting with both of you. And they're going to understand this, maybe your doctor won't. Had a friend whose child's in school, and a mother came up to the child and said to the mom, "What a healthy looking child. Let me ask you, who is his pediatrician?" And the girl said, "Oh, he doesn't have a pediatrician. He's 4 years old." No pediatrician? And here was the question. I'm telling you this honestly. How does he stay so healthy without a pediatrician? Welcome to Know the Cause, right? So, Dr. Mitchell, did you bring in this slide?
Yes.
This is take a look at this, and we'll have the doctors examine this pretty carefully. This is the new childhood in America. 1 in 3 is overweight, 1 in 6 learning disabilities, 1 in 9 asthma, 1 in 10 ADHD, attention deficit with hyperactivity, 1 in 12 food allergies, 1 in 20 has seizures, 1 in 54 males have autism, 1 in 88 total has autism, 50% have chronic illness or are overweight. This is the new norm in our country.
And this doesn't address the mood disorders and the children on drugs.
And Doug, I have to just intercede. It's hard to even keep up with the numbers because they keep getting worser faster.
Right.
Worser?
Worser faster.
It struck me, first I thought that was a joke. This isn't a joke.
No
What's
joke.
a joke is these kids grow up to be adults and perpetuate the medical cycle.
Right.
You said something fascinating before we went on. Women have doctors, you know, little boys have doctors and old boys have doctors, but in the middle, we don't tend to have doctors.
18 to 45-year-olds, there's no specialty for 18 to 45-year-old males.
Hypertensive, hyperlipid,
Right.
You know.
It's coming.
So
Yeah,
you got to ask why, right? What is different between that demographic, right, the 18 to 45-year-old male, and the very young kids, the very old people, and women? And then the other demographic that you throw in there is African Americans, right? Particularly African American females. Highest rate of any of the inflammatory conditions, you know, high blood pressure, you know, renal disease, stroke,
Roby?
and that type
Why?
of thing.
Why?
It's all because of the same, because of yeast. It hinges on your propensity to overgrow yeast and have inflammation, right? And black females have this perfect storm of one being female, right? So you produce more estrogen, which is an anti-thyroid, right? So predisposes you, right, to yeast overgrowth, right? And then being black and not producing as much vitamin D,
From
right?
the sun, yep.
From the sun, and then being American, where they're eating all the grains and sugar and so forth, right? And that's kind of the cauldron, right? The mix. And so the more you have one or more of those, right, then the more you're going to get those diseases. The children being born like low thyroid, low hydrochloric acid, right? They have a predisposition, right, to yeast overgrowth. The older people, right, on decline, right, more predisposition to yeast overgrowth, and you're in a weakened immune system and low thyroid and so forth. So they get sick. So there are specialties for those groups.
Isn't that wild? Teach me about, you keep saying hydrochloric acid. I had a friend, a very dear friend, he works on old motorcycles, and I'm an old motorcycle nut. And he told me for years, he's been having stomach problems. I recommended Dr. Ohira's probiotic, a changed diet, helped a little bit.
Zantac.
Oh,
or
Zantac. What am I thinking?
Or Pepsid, or
Pepsid AC or DC or MP.
Purple pill.
Right.
no, no fire here.
And so finally he went to a health food store and got hydrochloric acid.
Yes.
This is the big kahuna. He is the happiest he's been in 2 months.
Yeah.
So tell me, are we all hydrochloric acid deficient?
Well, so we start, again, around age 27, thyroid levels start to go down.
And thyroid and HCl have something to do with one another.
Right. So production of hydrochloric acid, you produce the amount of hydrogen ions, right? And that's what pH is, right? It's how many hydrogen ions, right? And so the pH of your bloodstream is around 7.4 neutral. You have to produce enough hydrogen ions in your stomach, hydrochloric acid, to get 3 million times the pH as arterial blood. That takes a lot of energy, right? It's a hydrogen ion pump that takes hydrogen ion from here, puts it here, hydrogen ion here, and that takes a lot of energy. That energy comes from thyroid. So as we get past age 27, thyroid levels go down, you're not able to produce as much hydrochloric acid, and then it becomes the domino effect, right? Depending on your genetics.
We need to keep an eye on that. I mean, that's really something we really have.
And then as you mentioned that, so people say, well, how can I know if I'm not producing enough hydrochloric acid? One of the things that happens with hydrochloric acid is you're allowed to absorb B12, right? B12 has a major effect on the size of your red blood cells. As B12 levels go down, your red blood cells get bigger and bigger, right? And they have to be just the right size. We measure on a CBC, and you know this from your history, right? What the size of your red blood cells is called
corpuscular
volume, MCV, right?
Yep.
So as B12 levels start to go down, that MCV goes up, 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 right? And it's a gradual thing. If your MCV is above 85, you're most likely not producing enough hydrochloric acid, you're not absorbing B12, and that's why your red blood cells are starting to get big.
Can I ask you, Dr. Trowbridge, you do something in your practice, you're actually the granddaddy of it. I see more and more younger doctors starting it, called chelation therapy.
Right.
Why do you do that? What does that help?
Okay, it's very simple. It's an FDA-approved treatment, okay? Because it's the only way you can get toxic metals out of your body. There's no other way to readily do that. Now, you can slow the progress of things like that by taking cilantro and garlic and things like this, but the key is that these toxic metals, lead, mercury, aluminum, cadmium, and so on, have come into your system. They accumulate and start to poison all the functions of your body because they replace the normal functions, the normal minerals that are supposed to be activating your enzymes. So we use chelation to get that to come out, just to get it out of the road. We'll never get all of it out.
Yep.
But if we can just move the accidents away from the intersections, now the traffic can
I've
flow.
talked to so many people who have been through chelation and just swear by it. So if you're a little tiny guy, right, and you find yourself aging, think HCl, think thyroid, think, are you 25 now, still having problems? Time for a little chelation therapy. You guys are amazing.
And I'll tell you, this kind of stuff does build up. All of those folks are going to get sick and always go to organ doctors rather than cause doctors.
Yep.
If you know the cause, you can know the treatment.
Wouldn't that be a great name for a show?
Yeah, know the cause.
Thank you both for coming in. Really appreciate it. Kyle Drew joins us today. You have questions. Neither of us are doctors, but we do enjoy trying to help point you in the right direction. Folks, thousands of people have watched Know the Cause and gotten resolve of their health problems. Always work with a doctor, a good nutritionist, a chiropractor, a nurse. Medical people use us as part of the team. Maybe we can help point you into the right direction. So you have questions, we'll try and answer those right now. Can you talk about panic attacks? Boy, can I ever. So it all boils down to a nervous system that may induce panic in your heart, in your brain, in the very fiber in your hands, you shake and so forth. I think the greatest thing I've ever learned about fungus and panic attacks or depression or any nervous system malady is that certain fungi, and some common ones, one of them is called penicillin, have you ever heard of that, are neurotoxic. And it doesn't mean right now, Patty, you're taking penicillin. Did you take it as a little girl? Did you take it for a year? Are you now suffering from having the good bacteria in the belly, the bioterrain gone, and now this mold or yeast is growing through the intestine? Many people with panic attacks also have gut problems, bloating, belching, gas, constipation, diarrhea, etc. So both of those considered, wow, maybe I did take some neurotoxins, and today, 17 years later, I find myself really panicky. So do change your diet, do look at probiotics as maybe resolving the problem. What are your thoughts, Kyle?
Back in 1990, I was in college, and that summer I worked for a home surveying company. And there was a man that I was riding along with, and he asked me to pull over, and he was having a panic attack. I had never seen one up to that point in my life. He used to dip smokeless tobacco, put it in between his cheek and gums, and he was a nervous wreck. Long story short, we talked about diet even back then and getting rid of the smokeless tobacco. I must say this, and I think it goes beyond the scope of this show, but human beings are mind, body, spirit, as well as a physical body. I really think let's make sure that the spiritual side and the emotional side are playing a role in your get better plan. The physical side, I think the fungal link is exactly where you need to be. Look at the other sides also.
Because I have that same problem when you ride in my car.
I know, you panic.
I need to pull over and take this out of my... Okay, next question. How long should one use olive leaf extract to detoxify the body? I guess the answer to that is until it works. There are various milligram strengths of olive leaf extract. Olive leaf extract is what we call an indiscriminate killer. It doesn't matter if it's bacteria, virus, fungus, protozoa. Olive leaf seems to remediate it. And when you take too much of it, you'll know. You'll know to cut back or stop.
Well, the biggest thing for me on the Kaufman plan, as evidenced in all of the books, all of the fungus link books, is the idea, and you were the first person I ever heard say this, rotation. I do think that olive leaf is one of those things that you can take for a long period of time, but ideally, I like switching it around every month or so. Even though it's possible to take it forever and ever, amen, I like switching them all the time, a la the Kaufman.
I really like that idea. Fungus can resist any even natural component. So rotate your antifungals. How many are there? 12? There are millions.
Right.
Food is antifungal. Okay. And finally today, Mom has constant leg cramps, draw her legs and toes up at night. Wow. She's tried many medicines prescribed by her doctor. Mom also uses extra potassium and magnesium with no relief. Do you have any suggestions? Rachel asked that. So I got to tell you, at Medical City where I work with Dr. Weekly, the first thing any nutrition person thinks is eat a banana or half a banana before you go to bed. And then computers came out sometime later, and I looked up how much potassium is in a banana. It's like none. You know, I don't know why it was helping some people. What is it? Coconut water.
Yeah.
Coconut
Kiwi
water.
is even better than bananas.
It is. Kiwi. So it goes banana, kiwi, coconut.
Yep.
Coconut. Drink a bottle of coconut water, or coconut milk as they call it. The real stuff, not the added maltodextrin and so forth.
Magnesium oil. A lot of magnesiums that you swallow are not the kind that's actually going to soak in and get to the muscles and the nerves. Magnesium oil, magnesium chloride baths.
Yes.
Those are the two I like best.
Epsom salts, right?
Epsom are
Epsom
great.
salts, that works great also. I hope that helps each and every one of you. Kyle, thank you.
Thank
for
you.
being with us today. You bet. You know why we chose a green apple as our logo on Know the Cause? Susie's going to explain that. And then after she's done, a great new pediatrician, Dr. Bain, is going to talk about eczema in children.
Did you ever wonder why we here at Know the Cause love green apples and use that as our logo? It's the apple with the highest content of malic acid, a natural ingredient discovered way back in 1785. It makes green apples sour. When used as a dietary supplement, malic acid can re-energize muscle cells and reduce muscle aches. So if you have fibromyalgia, eating green apples or taking malic acid supplements can go a long way.
Dr. Deborah Bain and I have known each other for a few years. We speak occasionally at these local symposiums. Dr. Bain is, are you ready now? You're sitting down, is a functional pediatrician as opposed to a regular pediatrician. Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
That name I've spoken at a couple functional meetings, and that name means a lot, but to the public it doesn't mean much. How is pediatrics different from functional pediatrics?
I mean, functional pediatrics is a name I coined, a couple years ago. It just means that we get to the root of the problem.
Right. What's dysfunctional and what can she do to remove that dys, right? So much of this dys is linked with what you always say. I've heard you say this on podiums, itis, I-T-I-S, right? Kids have all sorts of itises. And getting to the root of that can help them get better.
Absolutely. The immune system wants to heal.
Yeah, okay, so today what I want to do is talk a little bit about what she didn't see 21 years ago when she started in practice. And I got to tell you, 30 years ago, I worked with a dermatologist out here in Dallas who you may have known, Dr. David Weekly. Never saw a child with eczema. Today, this has kind of become the norm, the standard in your clinic.
Right.
You see a lot of eczema.
I do. I was horrified. This poor little kid came in. He looked like a lobster. I mean, they're scratching. They're so miserable. They're just weeping, through their cheeks, all over their skin.
I mean,
and
they don't know.
Right. And
Yeah.
we see this almost every day. Right.
Okay, let me ask you this before we look at these pictures. Why? What has happened in a couple of decades that we're now seeing a plethora of skin problems?
I mean, honestly, I think it all starts with pregnancy, the mom's gut, the C-section births, babies that are being put on antibiotic after antibiotic, killing off their own gut flora, and then they're getting overgrowth of the wrong things in their gut that's actually coming out in their skin.
And so many moms today, as opposed to 30 years ago, are going on third trimester, figure this one out, third trimester antibiotics routinely because of bacterial vaginosis. Isn't bacteria supposed to be there? Folks, it just blows me away. Do these antibiotics then transfer in utero to the baby? And a couple of months after birth, does the baby end up having tough-looking skin like this? This is what you want. There's what every mom and dad wants, but so much of this. Now, let's talk a little bit about, in the case of eczema, what you've experienced regarding reversing that or solutions mom and dad at home might apply.
Right. So the earlier we see them, the better. If we have little tiny babies that are coming in for that, newborn or that first month visit, that is key to us. When they have that little tiny red dot with a little halo around it on their trunk, spreading down to the upper arms, a little bit up here, that is a food sensitivity that they're getting through the breast milk.
Dot with a ring around, almost like ringworm?
No, just a little pink dot, but then
Okay.
it has a clearing around
Okay.
the outside of the dot. That is more food sensitivity. Okay, the top things that we usually tell the parent to get off of if they're nursing would be dairy, soy, eggs, nuts, wheat, corn, and tomato. Those are the top 7.
Okay.
We do a zytoscan in the office, which we do on the mom, so we can actually tell if the mom's food sensitivity is being transferred to the baby. That's a little shortcut
'Cause she's
that my
breastfeeding?
functional medicine office does. Yes, so
Okay.
she's breastfeeding, and we can do that scan on her.
Wow.
Other centers are actually doing that routinely, doing food sensitivity testing on the mom if she's going to breastfeed. So I think that's
Kind of
brilliant.
neat. You started all that. I
We
mean,
did.
that's...
So, but then we also, the secondary thing we see is that dry skin. The dry skin eczema is going to be your malabsorption. You're not getting enough fats in mom's diet, for example. Absolutely, so they're not absorbing through their gut. Then the third thing is that the bacterial overgrowth looks different. That's that weepy, crusty kid. That's the little dots, that are really raised up and angry skin. That is bacteria or yeast coming out the skin. Even bad cradle cap, yeast coming out their skin.
Can I ask you, with probiotics, with omega-3 or omega-6
Right.
fatty acids, are you finding that helps kids with...
Absolutely.
Okay, and a changed diet, avoiding those
Right,
sinisters.
and even coconut oil can be considered an antifungal as well. So put on the skin along with those things really helps.
So good, thank you. I mean, what a pioneer she is, Dr. Deborah Bain. By the way, remember this website, go on it, move around, learn, or she's right here in the middle of America. Hop on a plane, come on out. Healthy Kids Pediatrics, healthyKidsPediatrics.com. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Several years ago at a lecture in Los Angeles, I met Rhonda. Her son was suffering from a rare type of bone cancer. Do you think there's a link between mold, mildew, and fungus and cancer? Many doctors say no. You can't prove that to Rhonda. Watch this.
Well, my son, who is now 22 years old, soon to be 23, was diagnosed with bone cancer just 2 years ago. He had to have 16 months of chemo, radiation, and surgery. And about, I'd say like 6 months into his therapy, I found Doug Kaufman and his website. We learned how to eat properly and what supplements to take. And we've taken, our whole family's on the NSC24 beta-glucans, probiotics. It's just done an amazing wonder through our bodies. We all have just suffered so much. I think it's probably because of our environment that we live in and the foods we eat, of course. And just going through this journey and learning about what Doug has imparted to us as believers and also being a Christian, I just am so in love with what he's doing. And you know, my family's sick of hearing about fungus and they think I'm a little psycho, but that's okay. But my son, his last chemo was December 22nd of 2009. He's just doing phenomenally well, and the bone cancer that he had is a really rare form, and only 60% of the patients survives. I think building up the immune system, especially with the beta-glucans and the probiotics and everything, has really helped him get through. He didn't suffer as many side effects as all the other patients did, and he just breezed right through everything. And he's doing so great right now. And the cool thing for me is that my kids are now learning how to eat properly, and they're really taking this and understanding it. Mom always says you shouldn't eat corn, peanuts, all that good stuff, and get rid of it, the yeast in your bodies. And I'm just so grateful. I just wanted to tell people how much I appreciate Doug and what he's doing for all of us, especially in the cancer world. So.
Thank you, Rhonda. I will be convinced as long as I live that there is an intimacy that exists between what they call cancer and what we call fungus growing in a sac. Thank you, Rhonda, for that. Don't go away. I'll be right back with more. No other show is going to bring you this much information, folks. And wasn't that an interesting ending of today's show with Rhonda talking about her experience with a son with a rare type of bone cancer? Look, we get a lot of comments, a lot of testimonials on people who have been very, very sick and have gotten better by following a diet that just happens to starve fungus, right? And then going on antifungal medications. So thank you so much to all the doctors today. Dr. John Trowbridge, Dr. Roby Mitchell, Dr. Bain, Dr. Deborah Bain, thank you. We learn so much each and every day on this show. Even I, as I rewatch all of this, learn. Oh, we learned something else. We learned why this is our logo. Malic acid, it's called, and it's very, very good for you. Thank you, Susie Cohen, for that. And now it's time to say goodbye. If you want to watch this show again, just go to our website or tell your friends. Doug Kaufman signing off for now. See you next time. Bye-bye.
pH of your bloodstream is around 7.4 neutral. You have to produce enough hydrogen ions in your stomach, hydrochloric acid, to get 3 million times the pH as arterial blood. That takes a lot of energy, right? It's a hydrogen ion pump. It takes a hydrogen ion from here, puts it here, hydrogen ion here, and that takes a lot of energy. That energy comes from thyroid. So as we get past age 27, thyroid levels go down.